Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foujan.
What if your emotional life didn't have to feel like a constant reaction or a constant recovery? Welcome to the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, a global online clinic offering psychotherapy, coaching, integrative well-being services, and mind-body practices, all in one place. At International Awareness Integration Institute, we don't just talk about change, we train it. Our work is guided by awareness integration theory, an evidence-based psychological and educational model designed to reduce anxiety and depression patterns, strengthen emotional regulation, and help you build a life that feels meaningful, steady, and fulfilling. Whether you're navigating stress, relationship strain, burnout, life transitions, trauma symptoms, or simply the feeling that you've outgrown your old life, you'll find a clear path forward here, supported by licensed professionals and expert practitioners. If you're ready to feel better, think clearer, and live fully, join the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic today. Visit awarenessintegration.com and book your first session or join our membership.
We live one time on this planet Earth, and I really wanted to take some time to acknowledge if we live here one time, we deserve to experience it in a way that feels comfortable, supportive, and fulfilling. And that can sometimes bring about that umbrella term happiness that is often not referred to as an umbrella, but it really encompasses the way that we experience life. And I think a way to achieve a state of happiness is really to look at it as a place of fulfillment or being at peace. And once we acknowledge that if we live here one time, how do we spend it in a way that feels comfortable, in a way that we're not dreading? And that includes how we spend our personal time and who we spend our time with and what types of changes we can make to experience feeling.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foujan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foujan. Download today. If you've been doing your best, but still feel stuck in anxiety, relationship stress, or the weight of old patterns, this is where things begin to shift. At the Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, we offer something different. We provide two pathways forward. In psychotherapy, our licensed clinicians help heal unresolved trauma, reduce anxiety and depression, and navigate life transitions. In coaching, our certified coaches help you build confidence, leadership, and relationship mastery, turning insight into decisive action. Both are guided by Dr. Foujan Zain's evidence-based awareness integration theory, a structured roadmap from awareness to integration to action. During our summit, save 25% on all services from March 22nd through 29th. Visit awarenessintegration.com to book your first session or request to be matched with the right provider.
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foujan Zain. I'm a psychotherapist, an author, and the founder of the International Awareness Integration Institute. So today I will be talking with Brittany Bennett. She's a New York State licensed mental health counselor. She's a published author and an international wellness advocate known for making mental health conversations both relatable and unflinchingly honest. With a deep understanding of emotional wellness and a unique ability to speak plainly about the spectrum of lethality from suicidal ideation to the urge to harm others, Brittany brings nuance and courage to topics many shy away from. Her work empowers individuals to reclaim their personal power through clarity, compassion, and intentional choice. In her book, Selfish is the new Selfless, Brittany challenges the outdated stigma around prioritization of yourself, and through digestible sections like pocketbook guides, heartfuls, and random stuff, she breaks down how to create more feel-good days without guilt, set healthier boundaries, and embrace self-worth as a foundation for all relationships. So the book is actually part guide, part manifesto, reminding you that being selfish is essential for showing up fully in life and for others. And she explains what selfish means. So from two therapists, we chit chat about what works, what doesn't work for you, and what can be, how you can explore who you are as your best. Now, be sure to subscribe to my podcast and my YouTube channel, and connect with me through my website, foujanzing.com. Go to awarenessintegration.com, where you can find coaches, therapists, mind and body providers, functional medicine. We brought a holistic space for you where you could find, from wherever in the world you are, different kind of support for you whenever you need it. Everything is online for you. Go check out Foujan app, both for Google and Apple. You could go to foujan.com and know more about it. We have an AI chat box that you could sit down and talk to, and in between times that you are getting support. And that chatbot is specialized in mental health. It's not like other ones where, they could give you wrong possible suggestions. This is trained in awareness integration, and it is set up to support you in that way. Share your thoughts with me. I'd love to hear from you in any format. Just text me, call me, leave a message for me, email me, go to the social media, anywhere you can go. And I love to talk to you. I love to hear from you, what topics you like to hear, what your needs are, so I can fulfill those when I can and however I can. Now, without further ado, here's Brittany back.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foujan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foujan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Now, sometimes the mind understands, but the body still holds the stress. That's why the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic offers mind-body services that help you regulate your nervous system, restore calm, and return to yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. Our reflective practices include guided mindfulness, breath work, yoga, and grounding exercises, and specifically curated to support emotional regulation and physiological calm. Our somatic integration practices are a refined body-led approach where healing begins with presence, working with breath, sensation, posture, and gentle movement, so resilience becomes felt, not forced. And for those who want deeper whole person support, we offer functional well-being guidance, addressing the interplay between hormonal balance, digestion, sleep architecture, and lifestyle factors with a root cause holistic framework. This is not self-care as a luxury. This is self-regulation as a life skill and a pathway to fulfillment. Choose the support your body and life have been asking for. Visit awarenessintegration.com to join a weekly meditation, explore somatic healing, breathwork, yoga-inspired movement, or functional medicine services, and start feeling the difference.
Brittany Bennett, everyone. It is so nice to have you on the show. Welcome.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Zane.
From a fellow therapist for many, many years, I know that you obviously have an experience about what gets people to come to therapy. You also wrote a book which says selfish is the new selfless. So first, I just want to ask, how come selfish? Because I think people have a different connotation about what selfish is. And I know that a lot of people come to therapy, one, because sometimes they think they are too selfish and they're ruining their relationship. So they come in, or somebody told them that they're selfish. So they come in to therapy and want to get help because of these relational issues. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have people who are so generous and so giving that absolutely forget about themselves, and all of their life is about how to give to others and miss who they are, right? Like they might get into a relationship and after a while they're like, I lost myself. I don't know who I am. They have children and they're like, I lost myself. I don't know who I am. They go from one career to another or different phases and they lose themselves. So I know that we're going to talk about the different spectrum of all of this throughout the show, but I want to start from what got you to tune into these two words of selfish and selfless.
Yes, well, thank you. It's funny. I think to myself, where should I start with answering that? And I think the first thing that I want to say is we live one time on this planet Earth. And I really wanted to take some time to acknowledge if we live here one time, we deserve to experience it in a way that feels comfortable, supportive, and fulfilling. And that can sometimes bring about that umbrella term happiness that is often not referred to as an umbrella, but it really encompasses the way that we experience life. And I think a way to achieve a state of happiness is really to look at it as a place of fulfillment or being at peace. And once we acknowledge that if we live here one time, how do we spend it in a way that feels comfortable, in a way that we're not dreading? And that includes how we spend our personal time and who we spend our time with and what types of changes we can make to experience feeling our best. So when I think of the word selfish, it's really interesting. The word selfish is looked at as a place of arrogance without the regards to others. But I took some time, and the title of the book, Selfish, is the new Selfless. Selfish is actually hyphenated, self dash ish. And I break it down in the beginning of the book of looking at the word self, which is feelings, thoughts, and sensations. And the word ish in the dictionary means being or connected to. So I just put a little tiny spin on of using the word selfish as we know it, but really bringing it inward and associating with how can we be our best? Well, we can be our best for others only if we're truly our best for ourselves.
Beautiful. Yes. And I think there's a way that we can find our best, because I think that as I work with clients, and I'm sure you share with me how your work is, it seems like sometimes people get confused about who their best is because the society told them what their best should be. Right. And then they think, oh, if I'm not what the society tells me that I need to be, then I'm not my best. And they don't necessarily have a way of how to connect to who they are and who their natural best is and how to listen to themselves. Because obviously, as a child, we've been trained to keep adapting to the society in order to be a part of, in order to belong to. So many times when we're looking at what is the best of me, it kind of compares to what the world says in that era, what the best looks like. What are your thoughts on that?
Most certainly, I really think that you acknowledge it the way that it is experienced. So often we are influenced in some capacity, whether it's the people surrounding us or what we see on television or film or read in books, or the biggest culprit, which is really social media, really kind of portrays maybe what we should be or what it is that we want or how we should be doing things. So I think that you really hit the nail on the head there.
So how do you find how people find their best? Because even when I looked at your book, it has spaces where there's a lot of questions where people can reflect and really find what's going on inside of them. And as you said, the ish being connected to the self, how can you tell our audience what is it that their best is? How can they find their best?
Wonderful. I love the way that you open up with that. So I appreciate that. I really think about one of the biggest things that we do every day is communicate, whether it is talking in person, over a phone, whether it's audio or text messaging, which is a really big thing nowadays. And I really like to think about our best self. How do we feel our best? How can we start to make changes in our lives that can make us feel more comfortable or have more support, or find things that we can start to eliminate or decrease realistically, that we might dread or makes us uncomfortable. And I think about communication, communicating with purpose, taking some time to be thoughtful about how do I want my words to land? What is it that I want this person to understand about how I'm feeling or why I'm upset? Or even on the other hand, why I appreciate them. How am I communicating it? So when I think about feeling our best, it's getting comfortable with putting into practice, communicating how it is that we feel, but also most importantly is asking yourself why. Why would I want to communicate this? Is this the right choice for me? How do I want to communicate that to somebody? And truly also, one of my favorite things to say is choosing who deserves to know the good, the bad, and the ugly in our life. Because just because we live with somebody or we have a partner that we see more often than someone else, or maybe we have our parents or some siblings, sometimes we feel almost innately obligated to share. It might not even be out of obligation. It's just natural to just share the ups and the downs and the days of the weeks of the year. And sometimes the people that are closest to us say exactly what they want to respond with, likewise reciprocated. But if we can be more aware of if something good happens or something not so good, who do I feel the most supported by sharing that with? Who do I feel the most comfortable with sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly? And really starting to dissect that, because the sooner we can identify who it is that we want to speak to and how and what value they bring us that brings out our best selves, then we can truly define how we want to live our life in communication, the way we spend our time, how we speak to people, how we allow them to be in our lives, how they're going to be present in our lives, and how we're going to be present in theirs.
Great that you said that, because I have a lot of clients who are beyond the age of, let's say, college age, where they get confused about friendships and even the expectation that they might have from their mate, which is to be an all in all person for us. And then there's obviously a lot of disappointment that happens when you have an expectation of one person to be your best buddy, the same way it was, like we were in kindergarten and, we only had one best friend. And somehow we expect that that's going to be, as we grow up, and we have a mate, that mate is going to be all in all, that we could share everything with, or we have a best friend that happens. And life becomes very different, because obviously when we are very younger, the amount of needs that we have is much less. And plus that we're all in the same place. We're all at school at the same place. Our needs are very much, the developmental age needs are very similar. And as we grow up, all of these needs are going to be different. So when you said it's find who is around you that can support you in your darkest time and you need nurturance, who's the best person to support you when you need some motivation and some kick to come on, let's go, let's do this. Who is the person who can support you in fun times, when there's nothing serious and you can just kind of like shoot the breeze with. And so understanding of these type of relatedness and who to communicate that best serves us to bring that need, to cover that need, to fulfill that need, is a very, very key point that you shared. Now, how do we even find that person? Because you shared it, so I just, I want to give you the realms of how do we do that? Is it more like awareness and watching and observing and who's best at those skills that we could get? Is it more about trial and error to kind of like, put something out and see how it feels so that we know this person is best for nurturance, or this one is best for motivating us to move forward, or is someone for fun, or is someone best for grieving? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a lot of all of those things combined, and I really bring it back to the feelings and the why. Why do I feel this way? Is it because I find when I share something with someone, they don't interrupt me? Or maybe if I share something, they're not looking for a solution, but there's a little bit of I hear you. I can't imagine how that feels versus someone telling you exactly how they feel, right? So it really is taking an inventory at the end of an experience that feels good, an experience that feels uncomfortable, and an experience that feels absolutely intolerable. And asking yourself when the time is right and you have some time to sit back and be thoughtful and reflect and explore, why did I feel good sharing this with somebody today? Why? How is it that they made me feel? Was it their actions? Was it their words? And through that, through the trial and error of just everyday natural stuff, we can start to identify the why behind somebody makes us feel comfortable or not.
And what you said was great, because you're saying that I can take an inventory at the end. Many times when we go into an experience that is not necessarily what we were looking for, expected, or it's uncomfortable, we make things wrong. Like we make them wrong, the person who's in front of us wrong, we make ourselves wrong. And the concept of creating an inventory to look at, is this person the best? For this skill? Do they have the skill for what I need right now without making them wrong or myself wrong? I have a need, and that's where selflessness and selfishness comes in. Selfishness comes. It's like, okay, I have a need that I need to honor. And then I also need to look at who is out there who could honor this need and fulfill it instead of making it wrong. Because I think many people that I talk to, they kind of go through a whirlwind with make wrongs, like they have an experience that didn't sit well, didn't land well with them. And they're looking at what who's at fault in here versus it's just that it could be that this person who's in front of me is not skilled at that. And I cannot expect that from them. However, I can look at what my need is and move and find someone who can fulfill that need. Is that kind of what I'm getting from you?
It does. And I think as you're speaking to Dr. Zane, a couple examples came to mind for me. And just to kind of simplify it and make it a little bit more relatable, where it doesn't have to be so heavy or deep, is if you enjoyed a book, like you're a book reader and you just finished and you want to talk to somebody about this book, you're likely not going to choose the person who absolutely doesn't like reading. You might find somebody who also enjoys reading. So kind of taking a look at it like that. Or if you like a certain genre of movie, maybe someone really enjoys action, but the other person is really just a drama person. You might not ask that drama loving film watcher to go to an action film if you know that they don't. So just kind of simplifying of just taking an inventory of your own feelings and who it is that we connect with. And if you speak to someone on a regular basis, maybe it is a family member or a partner, and you find that they don't respond in a way that makes you feel heard or validated, or maybe you feel uncomfortable, or it just doesn't feel worthwhile to you, that's an acknowledgement of that's just not the person I'm going to share those types of things with, and sharing it with someone that you do feel comfortable around.
And a lot of people have great skills to offer us, but they're not necessarily kind of an open space where they can definitely just be there for you. When information goes in, most people turn around and bring themselves into it, bring who they are into it. So in a shared relationship, friendships, coworker, mate, all of that, in a societal level, all of these relationships and support systems are fantastic. Sometimes we need more than that. Sometimes we need someone who's skilled at listening, to us, not necessarily listening for who they are. And I think that's where our role as a therapist, as a counselor, as a coach shows up, because the style of the listening and the crispness of the listening and the skills of how to be with your thoughts and emotions and all of those are very different than a good friend a good cousin who could sit down with you and share an experience with you versus have the ability to be able to give you what you want. So not only in your book, but also when we talked, it's important for you to share with people. And when is it the time that a good friend or an aunt or a cousin is just not enough for sharing, and you need a little bit more? So can you share about that?
Sure, yes. Thank you for asking. As you were talking, I said to myself, that sounds like us. It sounds like a therapist is a wonderful choice and option to try. And those are great points. And I think that when there are people in our lives that we talk to on a regular basis that may be supportive and whatnot, sometimes there's things that are happening within our life that might be present a lot. And if we find that we're in a place where we feel that we're talking about it a lot, or maybe someone's response is changing where maybe they say you're always talking about this, or nothing's changing, right? Or maybe we feel like we're talking about it so much that maybe we feel like we're annoying somebody, just being human here, right? And being transparent. And I think when there are experiences that come up in life where maybe a decision has to be made or there's some change, that before it starts to snowball and starts to add up with stress in the way that we feel, it's really important to consider before the heavy becomes too much weight to bear is a really great time to consider coming to therapy. Life changes, decisions that have to be made, things that might not be in our control, but we want to start working on preparing for a change.
Many of us think that there should be a manual that is given to us right before a next level of transitional concept with normal life, because normal life goes through transition. And by the time we get used to one of or the stages of our life, we go from childhood to teenhood to younghood, and then from school to colleges to work, career, relationships, marriages, parenthood, mid age, and then some people go through divorces and career changes in the middle, and at one point possibly like retirement, and all of these pieces are the next level. And some of us go through losses, loss of parent, a loss of someone who's dear to us. So all of these phases of life don't necessarily come with a manual up front that says you're going to go to the next level, and this is exactly the life manual that you could read and move to the next one. So there's always some sort of a turmoil between closing and shifting, completing from one phase of life and kind of moving to the next. And that's just if we're going straightforward from one level to another. Sometimes we're not ready for a change and we're resisting it. Sometimes the changes show up, like we get fired or something happens in our life where we didn't predict it. So it didn't go as smooth a phase of life that we thought. So all of these types of shifts and changes is going to require a different type of a skill. And what I've noticed in this, 35 years of being a therapist, is it doesn't have to be that we have a mental illness that we have to go to a therapist. And many people think about it that way, like, oh, I have to go. People look at it from a medical model. Oh, I have to be sick before I go to a doctor, so I must be mentally ill before I go to a therapist, versus on a regular basis of just life changes, to have a space where people can go and talk to someone who has a crisp listening, who can create a reflective feedback, who could look at that person and find, what is the best, like you said at the beginning of the show, what is their best, and bring it as a mirror to them and hold that space for them where they can find their own best in that, and also offer them skills. It's a great space to have as a support. So share about what are some of these angles where a person's, sitting home and saying, I'm kind of in this ordeal and I should be calling a therapist. Should they be waiting until there's a crisis for them? Should they be waiting until they they experience mental illness before they do? Or can we, and look at it from a preventive concept, the same way we do in a medical model? Do we have to wait until we're ill, or are there things that we could do and get preventive concepts from the doctors in order to create a fulfilling life for ourselves?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I often say come to therapy before that heavy becomes a crisis for you. And only we can identify truly what the crisis means. What would that look like? And that's a great starting point too. If someone's uncertain or unsettled or not sure if they want to take that step to make an appointment to see a therapist, ask yourself, how would you know you were ready? What would kind of be that point for you in the experience where it did feel too heavy, so that you can start maybe thinking about getting into therapy before it does get to that point. And I think that that also speaks to, if you're thinking about seeing a therapist, to take the time to be selective or quote unquote selfish to find the therapist that's the best for you. And honestly, when you go in and you go to search for a therapist, there's a lot of different avenues that one can take. But really thinking about the life experience. Nowadays, with everything being digital at our fingertips, if we have access to it, we can look up, you can even search a certain type of life experience. Maybe you're having trouble adjusting to a new blended family that you're a part of, or maybe you've been a part of a blended family for a very long time and you're having some unsettled or uncomfortable thoughts around it. Those are life experiences that can be searched upon to see if there's a therapist that specializes or spends time in that life experience area. Because honestly, when we think about the crisis, what is the crisis for somebody? Is that deep depression? Is that very intense anxiety? And what I say to that is that depression is one of the leading causes of disability worldwide. And in my opinion, professional opinion, it is grossly underreported because people do not always share, or they're not always very transparent with filling out maybe a questionnaire at a provider's office. So I share that for transparency, to be as honest and as human and as relatable as I can. And I share that because we're going to have some type of traits of down or sad mood, or maybe some traits of depression and some under realized symptoms of depression that some of us might not even be aware of. I really like to acknowledge that a possible symptom of depression is guilt. And how many people go through life experiencing guilt in some capacity at some phase in their life? So when I think about before the experience turns into a crisis, thinking about therapy at a time where things feel unsettled or uncertain, and we just want to be able to spend some time to sit and speak with someone. And the best part about therapy is it is time carved out by you, for you, with no interruption and no distraction, with a therapist who is skilled and ready to go.
Well, a lot of people right now, they're using ChatGPT or one of the AI generated as a therapist. It's very funny that, I have clients who come into me and then they say, in the middle of the week, I couldn't find you. So I just talked to ChatGPT and said this, and it's so great. And I train therapists, interns, and so it's interesting for them. It's like, are we going to lose our job? And I'm like, no. There, obviously, a lot of these AI chatbots are the algorithm is written to just tell you what you want to hear. It's not necessarily, although it sounds empathic, but it's mostly that. It's like telling you what you want to hear, and that's where a lot of the issues showed up afterward, where somebody wanted to commit suicide, and the AI chatbot, I don't want to name which one, but even said, yes, absolutely, you have every right to, and these are all the ways that you should. Or there was someone who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and was on medication, and stated that I don't need to take medication. And from a couple of back and forthness, the AI chatbot also said, absolutely, you don't need to. And so they stopped, and obviously they got hospitalized. So just to share that, although because of the age of technology, people are going to AI chatbots and, writing and gaining what they want to gain, it doesn't take away or a replacement. Although it might, have a dialogue that feels good, and, in the middle of the night when you don't have anybody, that this dialogue can go back and forth, and even sometimes gives you some skills, but it's not the same environment or the skills that a human to human connection and creativity and observation and the analyzation that happens actually with two people can happen. What are your thoughts about that?
Well said. I'm glad that you shared all of all of those acknowledgments and insights, and I couldn't agree with you more. Moreover, I think it's really important just to kind of acknowledge therapy for what it is. And there are times where, over the course of 30 plus years for you and nearing 20 for me, every now and then there may be a client who shows up with a challenge of how could you possibly understand? Are you married? If you're not married, how could you possibly understand? Have you ever lost a child? How could you possibly understand? And I bring those because you're willing to go to the depths there, Dr. Zane, with talking about these things. And I want to acknowledge that therapy, it's not based on life experience. It is based on research, guided skill sets that we choose individually as the therapist to meet our client where they're at, and it's tailored accordingly in how the person shows up to the office, in addition to the long-term well-being and treatment plan, if you will. So when I think about what you acknowledge with the chat box, I absolutely agree and understand. And I think that it just really highlights the importance of personal experience, and that it's the therapist that's going to really kind of work with the client to tailor the treatment accordingly.
Yes, and it's a good tool. I mean, we created an AI chatbot. It's called Mira, and it's a great tool for in between session for clients, which, if they don't have access to the therapist, but definitely it does not take away the skill of what they can gain. So everyone get this book. Selfish is the new selfless. So what are some of the things that we haven't shared that you really want people to know?
Okay, wonderful. I really want to keep it simple and practical, and that is to take some time to respect your thought process, your brain, and ask yourself, what are the things that I look forward to doing? Who are the people I look forward to seeing? How do I want to spend my time? What do I want more of? And equally as important, what do I want to see less of as I go through the days of the weeks of the months of the year, and really start incorporating, I call them the feel goods. What are the things that you look forward to? And we're talking, there's a difference between having a bucket list of things to do during your lifetime versus the things that we experience in the everydays of our life. And those are the things that I'm talking about, things that we love. Who do we like to see? What do we like to do with them? What are the things that I enjoy as part of my morning routine? If you're somebody who loves a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or likes their morning shake or a water before they exercise, or just have some quiet time, or maybe you like to make a to-do list every morning. The point being, intentionally taking the time, choosing to make the time to think about the things that you want more of and less of, and then incorporating the feel goods, the joys, and the things that you love to do the most in life, because we live on this planet Earth one time.
Yeah, absolutely. Where could people find you?
Couple different places. My business name is Bridge Over Troubled Water, so I have botwservices.com, and also there's an app called Minnect, Minnect, where I do a lot of consultation services as well, all related to questions about mental health, psychoeducation about mental health, well-being, and whatnot.
Beautiful. And we'll put all of those on the show notes. So thank you so much, everyone. Brittany Bennett, for taking the time and being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Zane. I appreciate you.
And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Awareness, integration theory, certification programs. If you're a psychotherapist, clinician, or coach ready to elevate your impact, I invite you to become certified in the Awareness Integration Theory, AIT model. AIT is a structured, evidence-informed approach that strengthens emotional regulation, reduces anxiety and depression patterns, and helps clients create lasting change. Our training is practical, clear, and immediately usable in sessions, so you can work with more confidence and consistency. Join a global community of practitioners shaping the future of integrative mental health. Become AIT certified today. Visit awarenessintegration.com.